Hello everyone, this is a psychic prediction video for February 2023. So when I tune into February 2023, what I get is a very playful, optimistic energy. So this looks pretty nice. It looks like a nice break from kind of the chaos that's been going on. Maybe not too bad, but a little bit of chaos was what I was reading for last month. So February should be pretty nice. I see it being a great month for kids, especially because of the playfulness. But for adults, I'm seeing that responsibilities can become overlooked. Excuse me. So, one of the visions that I was seeing related to this was clowns playing, and I was getting the message that it's good to be playful, but you don't want to become a clown and get carried away with things and kind of lose track of reality. Now, at the same time, it's kind of a positive and a negative because clowns kind of depends how you look at it. Some people like clowns, some people like circuses, some people don't like clowns. So it just depends how you want to look at that one. And it kind of, I think that the message behind that is great because it has kind of two meanings at the same time. And it's like a sword that cuts both ways, so to speak. So I was getting that things may become more serious in the month of February, around like the 8th or the 10th or so, like maybe a third of the way into the month. Things become less kind of like playful and kind of up in the air, and things kind of like settle down, so to speak. And people kind of become more aware of like where they really are and kind of like the reality of their life and like what you fit into and what you don't fit into. So there's a little bit of this awareness of that comes into play. And along with that comes my Bitcoin prediction. So my Bitcoin prediction, last month I was seeing it climbing and climbing, basically steadily climbing, and that's basically what it did. And then I said that February, not so much. And so what I'm seeing for February coming up here is it kind of coming down within, around the first week, maybe into the second week. It kind of just really coming down and not really doing too great, and then kind of flattening out and just going across. So basically down and then flat. Nothing too horrible, but nothing too great is the way that I'm seeing it. Of course, this is not investment advice. Of course, I can always be wrong, etc., etc. So take this all with a grain of salt. However, if you would like to see my predictions and exactly what I do when I sell Bitcoin or different cryptocurrencies or stocks on the stock market, I put out predictions for that, and you can have access to that on my Patreon page. It's $10 for all of that access, but you get access to all of my past predictions from all of the different coins. And then, of course, as time goes on, I update it. Anyways, moving on. Joe Biden for February 2023. The way that I was seeing him was his face, and it was kind of almost as if it was turning into a mouse, and that was the vision I was given. There's something kind of mousy about him, if that makes any sense, for this month. And what I was getting was that he's out of the spotlight more and kind of not trying to be in the spotlight, kind of similar to how a mouse may kind of hide in a tunnel or kind of stay out of the spotlight. However, I did get the sense that there's something tense going on with him, but it's kind of, again, it's not out in the open, but it's kind of more of a personal thing. There's this tension around how things are playing out around the world, and it's almost as if he's like biting his nails. So I get the sense that he is not happy with the present moment within the month of February for the most part. generally speaking, that is. But he does still have hope for the future, and so it's not like devastating at all. Moving on to Putin. When I tuned into Putin, what I saw was him being confident for the first part of the month, but then as the month goes on, he kind of loses his confidence a little bit and becomes more kind of like stern and kind of more serious looking and, I guess less happy and confident. When I tune into Russia, I get that Russia in general seems to be doing a little bit better than they have in the last couple months or so. But I still don't get the sense that Russia is making like lots of progress as far as like their battle in Ukraine. When I tune into Ukraine, what I see is suffering going on this month. There's a lot of people that are tired of holding out and tired of waiting, and it's kind of to this point where it's almost like a breaking point for the people there, not so much the country. And I get the sense that next month may be better for the citizens in Ukraine who are suffering through this. I also get the sense that the world is less focused on Ukraine in February. I think I said that for January as well, and I'm seeing that continuing into February, where the focus is less on other or more on other things and less on Ukraine. Geopolitical issues take place of the Ukraine crisis. There's a possibility, at least the way that I was seeing it, it seems like there's a possibility of news in the ocean around Florida that seems to work in Biden's favor. At least when I tuned into what this is about, what I saw was Biden was happy about the end result and the outcome of it. But I'm not sure exactly what it could be about. It could be about trade. But it seemed to have something to do with other countries and geopolitics of some nature. Speaking of which, last month I was saying that there was going to be, or I was seeing like a bomb, and I wasn't sure if that was literal or kind of a metaphor. And I was saying that it was taking place around the north of Africa and around the Middle East area. And recently I found out that I think that was somewhat symbolic and literal at the same time, because there was like a bunch of like drone bombing attacks going on either in Israel or Iran. I don't really know exactly, but I did check the world news just to see if anything came up. And there has been a lot of news around Israel and Iran, which is right around that area. So I think that may be what I was seeing. If you have any better ideas about maybe what I was seeing that I'm not aware of, you can let me know. I'd love to hear that. So I do get the sense that in this coming month of February, there may be tensions increasing between the United States, or you could say more like Joe Biden and Iran, that seem to be coming up specifically. And that came up independently of the news. After that came up, I looked up the news, and then I was like, oh, there is stuff going in Iran. So that, just so you know, that wasn't because of the news that I mentioned that. So anyways, the economic outlook for February overall, it seems to be about where it was before as far as the economic outlook. But there could actually be some slight improvement of the outlook because of the economy's ability to hold on and kind of show that things are not crumbling and show that things can persist, and because of that it can actually improve the economic outlook. So it doesn't look bad, basically. I would say the US looks good, but Europe doesn't. Joe Biden doesn't like seeing Europe being destroyed, is what I was getting. But there is a complex relationship going on behind the curtain. So, well, on some level, Joe Biden may not like seeing that. There's like a lot of strings being pulled and interesting stuff that I go into on my Patreon page that I will post soon after this video, where I also mention stuff about Kamala Harris, and I mentioned Donald Trump and just some stuff about them. Um, Things that may be too controversial and too politically charged for me to post here, so I am not going to post that information here. Regardless, basically the gist of this is that Joe Biden doesn't like seeing Europe being destroyed, and it seems like that's kind of what's going on more and more in February coming up here. But it's complex, so I'll just leave it at that. When I tune into the whole planet and kind of what's going on a bigger scale, leaving the leaders and the politics and the countries and all that, whatever you want to call it, out of the way, what I get for the whole planet is dark energy coming to the north area of the planet, like the North Pole and kind of like just the northern section of the globe. And so that doesn't seem too well. I get the sense that that may be associated with the coldness of the planet and the fact that it's like the sun is more so on the southern hemisphere, and it seems to correlate with that, although it's not just the darkness because it's not sunny, it's like a dark energy because of like resources and suffering and things of that nature that happens to correspond with the sunlight, I guess you could say. Life elsewhere on the planet seems to be settling down, and on an energetic level, that is, awaiting major changes in the future. So it's kind of like, big things are coming up, but for right now, it's like kind of like the eye of the storm, I guess you could say. Outside friction of the world is lessening for people in the world. There's less just friction, like externally influencing people. But it's replaced with more of an inward focus of learning where you truly belong. And so this is an inward growth process that it can be life-changing in and of itself. It's just the difference is it comes more from within rather than kind of an external force kind of creating this change. So I feel that there's going to be a lot more internal work going on energetically, and a lot more like calming down and healing the nervous system, which I feel like I could definitely use that. So what is this month coming up here good for? What it's good for is focusing on yourself, kind of like what I was just saying. Specifically self-development and doing what you want to do. In the sense that it's more of your own personal thing. It's not like a greedy thing, like, oh, I want to do what I want to do because I deserve to do whatever I want. It's more like I'm going to do what my inner calling is truly calling me to do. So focusing on yourself. Also, what this month is good for is being carefree, but not absent-minded. And so this month has a tendency to make people absent-minded, I guess is the best way to put it, because it creates this sense of being carefree. Again, I was saying it's very playful and optimistic, great for children, but not necessarily great for responsibility, and it can kind of be like having your heads in the cloud a little bit too much. So that's something to watch out for. So what is this month bad for besides for that? Glossing over the truth, laziness, procrastination. It's also not a good month for group dynamics, because the group dynamic may not work out as well as individual interests. So, if you're making plans or whatever, maybe, and I don't know why I keep seeing this owl vision whenever I think about that. Like, I just keep seeing this owl. And it's like this owl represents kind of the more introverted, like it's a night creature. It's it's cuddly, which kind of, I mean, it's not necessarily cuddly. You wouldn't want to cuddle with an owl, but it has those fluffy feathers, and it keeps it warm and things like that. And so it seems like a good symbol to represent this month. So, anyways, to summarize, I would summarize February as contentment, a little bit of smugness, people feeling cozy, and maybe a little absent-mindedness. I would say don't forget to take action and enjoy yourself this month, because it seems like along with absent-mindedness and feeling too comfortable, you could forget to really take action and enjoy yourself. So don't miss that out, or don't miss out on that, I mean. Another thing that came to me was this sentence: the road cannot take you to where you want if you do not make it happen. I would also say this month can be fun, so make the best of it. And when I asked what advice I should say for this month, this is an interesting one, but I'm just going to say what it was. Don't learn to be an asshole. Learn what you truly want instead. So I'm just going to leave it at that, and you can make of that what you will. Thank you for watching. I always appreciate a thumbs up on this video. Comment below if you have anything to say, and my Patreon links will be below this video in the description. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.